Hey everyone, welcome to Crypto Mining Insider. I hope everyone's having an awesome day today. I know crypto mining revenue is down, but it's coming back a little bit. I'm honestly still pretty psyched about doing my solo mining. I actually still have a bunch of my rigs trying to mine that second block, so I'm crossing my fingers. Today I plan to take a deeper look at electricity because one of the biggest comments I've received on solo mining Ethereum is Crypto Mining Insider, what is your electricity cost? So my average electricity costs right now are about 12 cents a kilowatt hour, which is definitely better than a lot of people out there. If you're in a commercial or industrialized area, you have better rates even than me, so that's fantastic. But I know there's a lot of people out there that are suffering because the electric costs are very, very high. If you're looking at electric costs at using typically what everyone uses is the average. So they'll look at different states and they'll say, okay, if I was in New York, it would be, wow, 19.75 cents kilowatt hour. If I was up in Maine, look at that, 23.03 cents is the cost per kilowatt hour. But that's the average. See, a lot of places here in the United States, I don't know how it is abroad, so I'd love to know. Drop a comment down below. A lot of places here in the United States, we have a varying, our electricity cost varies by the time of day as well as the day. So usually weekends and holidays will have a reduced time, and even during the week we'll have different peak times. And knowing those times really helps paint a much better picture of when it's good to mine. See, typically miners, they'll look at tools like what to mine. Like I'm bringing up right now. I have two 3080s and two 3070 cards selected. I've entered in 12 cents for a kilowatt is my cost. And I come up with a result. And the result will typically look something like this. It'll say, okay, well, you'll make $4.64 a day is your revenue for the day. And at $2.51 is your profit from that. So wow, okay, that's still pretty profitable. I know a lot of people are not in that same situation. This is really important, so stick with me. Now, they'll think of it in terms of a two-dimensional chart like this. $2.51 is my profit. $2.13 is my cost of electricity. And this is my mining costs. But it is if you are on a fixed flat rate and you don't have any adjustments to it, or if you don't even have to make any electricity minimums to make that payment. But it's not painting the whole picture if you're using a variable rate. See, this is how I look at electricity because I actually have 4 different rates that may come in at different times. And by using this, I feel it gives me a much richer, a much fuller picture that I'm able to see a lot of more of my mining where I can increase or even decrease some of my utilization and increase my overall profits. Especially if I'm going to be doing solo mining or hodling even, these are definitely things you're going to want to know is because understanding your key peak mining times that it's most efficient to mine is definitely going to save you a lot of outlay in your electric costs, at least till you hit your solo mining block, or even if you're just trying to hodl doing regular mining. I'm going to be taking a deeper look at this today and show you how I come up with this chart. If you haven't already subscribed, don't forget to press down on that subscribe button. Stick with me and let's get into it. Last year when I was mining, electricity never even really crossed my mind. It was just kind of like one of those expenses I had while I was just trying to do mining. My average cost for a kilowatt hour here is about 12 cents a kilowatt hour, but it's not really very accurate in the big picture, and I'll get into that in a moment. See, when mining revenue was really high, I was making a lot of money on my cards. Even at the peak of the rally, I was probably making $10 a day on a 3080 and even $6, $5 to $6 a day on a 3070 card. So, you know, if I'm dealing with these small amounts of electricity, it seemed tiny. But now what mining revenue has been crushed, it's been really, really hard for a lot of us to mine profitably. And for a lot of people, it's been very difficult to mine at all if they're even able to. I see a lot of people, unfortunately, they've had to turn off their rigs, and I hope that situation turns around really soon. If you're in this area where you have a varying electric rate structure, maybe the knowledge I'm going to be sharing today with my research is going to be able to help you. Hopefully, maybe you'll even be able to mine more or even get some of your rigs back on. See, I recently reached out to my electric company, and I was trying to find out where are my electric rates. And they said, oh, it's on your bill, it's on your this. But I look, and I said, okay, am I on a fixed rate? Because I'm seeing one number and I'm seeing a cost to it. And they say, no, it varies. I said, well, everyone in our plan for residential, yes, they're in a varying rate. But nowhere on the bill does it show me what the rate is for the different times, or at least what my consumption is. So I think they kind of want to keep that a mystery to us because that's really where they're sticking it to us. So they said, if you go online, you can look, and here's our different rates for our different times. So I went online, and sure enough, I found the different rates for the different times, and I've kind of broken it down. So let me show you what it looks like. So I've kind of made a simple little grid here. So these are my rate periods. So on these different rate periods at different times of the day, or even whether it's a weekend or a holiday, I have different rates that come into place. So my discount is at rate when that's in effect, that's at 0.8 cents a kilowatt hour, and that's my ideal. When it's off-peak time, it's about 11 cents a kilowatt hour. Peak time, look at that, it jumps to 22 cents, so it doubles. And then there's this other one here called critical. See, critical is not defined as any specific time period except when they're under extreme load and I guess they can't handle it. So if they may have to buy in or subsidize it somehow, they can decide, okay, this is critical time. We've exceeded our normal expected limit and we can actually institute this extreme critical rate, which is 40 cents, which is, wow, I couldn't imagine. I'd turn everything off at that rate probably. But it's not very visible on my bills. And then I called my utility company. I said, well, okay, these are the rates in the different times, but I'm seeing one number on my bill, or I'm seeing, this is how many kilowatts I've used, and then one number, but it's not giving me a breakdown. And he said, oh, let me connect you to someone. And after, honestly, probably an hour, a couple of hours of getting just randomly bounced around, they showed me somewhere I could go on the web. And I went on the web, and sure enough, they directed me to a site. And you said, oh, you can download this file. So I can download this 12 megabyte JSON file that has the metrics of the different time periods I've used. Who wants to download a JSON or an XML file just to find out what your usage is? I think the utility companies are really screwing it to us with that, because it should tell me how much am I using on my discount period, how much of the rate am I using on my off-peak, how much am I using on peak. I don't think they want us to know that. And because, people would obviously say, okay, wow, if between this time and this time it's my peak, I'm not going to do laundry or run my ACs too high, because look, you're paying twice as much. But this is really critical information to us, especially as miners, because I consume a heck of a lot more electricity now that I'm doing crypto mining than if I was just running my home normally. So using this, it's kind of hard to gauge where everything is at. So I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to actually make a chart of it. I'm going to make a simple little chart. Let me just zoom this out. There we go. So now I kind of created a chart that I could say, okay, these are my 7 days a week. I have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And I put a time block here. So this would be like 12 a.m. to 1 a.m., 1 a.m. to 2, all the way down. So I have all 24 hours. And I kind of painted a grid in here then, showing these are my off-peak times, these are my discount hour times, and this is my peak times. And this would apply for me on all days, unless it was a holiday day, then it would count as the off-peak, as well as if it was, they deemed it a critical time, they could come in and zap me at that critical rate any moment. But I've already subscribed to be notified in the event there's a critical usage, so at least hopefully I'll get that notification and be able to turn some rigs off before I have to pay 40 cents a kilowatt hour. That'd be crazy. Having this documented like this, to me, is really, really critical, because I can see, well, for each day, on Sunday, for example, I am using 5 hours of discount time, 19 hours of off-peak, and 0 of peak. However, on my weekdays, I'm using the same 5 discount, 15 hours of off-peak, and 4 hours of peak. Well, that kind of doesn't sound so bad, does it? But if you look at it in the big picture, it really makes a big difference. So I decided, now I have this done, I'm going to use the information that I can get from What2Mine and kind of create a graph with the different time zones. So at least I'll know how I'm mining, what is my cost when I'm on the discount rate, or if I'm on the off-peak rate or the peak rate, or critical I didn't even calculate because I'm just planning to turn off. But just using these periods to see what is my normal mining schedules and what is the impact. And more importantly, what is the marginal impact? So see, like right now, I'm only mining for peak hours, only a few hours a day, only 4 hours a day. Does that really make a big difference? It's only 1/6 of the whole day. Let me tell you, it makes a big difference. Let me show you. Now that I know my electricity rate periods and I have it all mapped out into a matrix that tells me daily what is my expected rate period. So I know when to apply the times. The next step was for me to actually go into tools like what to mine. And I would be able to calculate in a hash rate even just to see what is it for a certain card and what the profitability is for that. So here's an example right here. So if I go into what to mine, I threw in two 3080s and two 3070s, just as an example. I have 5.7 gigahash, so that'd be a lot harder, and I kind of want to keep more realistic numbers for people to look at. But using that, I could see, what is my expected revenue and profit, and then one by one, I just changed what is the cost. So what is my electricity cost when it's at 8 cents a kilowatt hour? What is my electricity cost when it's at 11 cents a kilowatt hour? What is it when it's at 22 cents a kilowatt hour? And I plugged that number in, and I saved those numbers, and then I kind of created a little bit more on the spreadsheet. I went down and I created this profitability using the specific electric periods. So I just entered in the daily revenue as well as the daily profit that I just got back from what to mine. And this is my different discount, off-peak, and peak periods. I put in what the daily profit was, and according to what to mine. From there, I can tell what the electricity is, because if you take your revenue, subtract your profit, you're left with your electricity costs. And then from there, I could break down what is the hourly electricity. Well, hourly electricity is just my daily electricity divided by 24. So there's no, nothing too complicated about that. Same thing too, hourly profit is just my profit divided by 24. And by doing this, I could create this matrix. And then I could see my mining per day. So this would actually be on a hours per day out of 5 hours of discount time, 15 hours of off-peak, and 4 hours of peak time, which is the same as what would be on a weekday. So that would be the same for me Monday through Friday. And I could see these are my electric costs at that time, the electricity percentage of the whole electric bill, as well as what is the profitability in dollars and the profitability percent. And this really helped me a lot, because I could see, okay, my electricity costs at peak period, I'm paying for this 30.1%. However, it's only contributing 5% to my overall profit. So I thought, hey, this would be really cool and useful information. Let me throw some graphs into this. Voila, there we go. So I added the 3 graphs in here, and it helpfully shows you a visual picture that's a lot clearer than I can describe in words. So if we look at this first graph right here, so essentially this is a pie chart, and it's going to show profitability by the time period. So you see the orange here is my off-peak time, the green is my discount period time, and this amber, I guess red area here, is really my peak time. So I can see my peak time is only contributing 5% to my overall profit. However, when I look at the electricity percentage by that period, I can see that even though the peak period is only 5% contributing on the electric, it's using 30.1% of my electricity. Wow, that's a huge disparity right there. Furthermore, too, is I could see that my discount time period is generating 27.1% of the revenue, and it's only using 13.7%. Finally, I have my off-peak time, which is 67.9%, and that's only using 56.5%. So these guys are great, but this one right here, this peak, these few peak hours here, wow, they're really, really a killer in my opinion. And if I want to get an idea too, if I look at it as a stacked chart, I can see here for the discount, off-peak, and peak, for those different periods, how much of it is electricity versus how much of it is profits. It's crystal clear there's almost no profitability on the peak time. And if you're very, very marginal, you may not be able to mine all the time, but maybe you could mine at either a discount period or an off-peak time period profitably. And it's also really important to know that this peak period time, since it's such a killer with the rates, it may not, even though I'm profitable, because you see there's a little bit of green there, if my strategy is to hodl coins, or if I want to even do solo mining, that's the time I may want to consider maybe not doing it, because although I broke down the hours here, which I'm doing it, if I'm going back up to my original spreadsheet, looking, I see I'm using for that 4 hours a day, for these 4 cards as an example, I'm paying 65.2 cents in electricity for those 4 hours, but I'm only gaining profitability is only 12.5 cents above that. So wow, it's, I would have to lay out that 65 cents to the electric company when the electric bill comes in hopes that I'm going to get the 65 cents plus the 12 cents back. So is it really worth it to me to mine as that paying that 65 cents out now just to hopefully get that 12 cents or higher back later? It may not be. And in this case too, I can just disable it. That's what's cool about this. And now I'll see, wow, it changes down quite a bit. So I've only reduced my profits very, very little. However, I made a significant reduction in my electricity costs. Let me flip that back so you can quickly see. If I just want to copy the numbers there, 1.51 versus 2.37. So let me just undo this number here, give it back to 4 hours peak. And there we have it. So I can see I am saving here. Rather than me getting $2.49 in profit, I'm going to have to satisfy with $2.37. However, too, looking at the electricity costs, my electricity bill for the month, for that day at least, is going from $2.17 a day down to $1.51. So if I was at this level, I was only marginally profitable, it may be worth me considering, hey, you know what, maybe just turn the rigs off for that peak period of time if I have a way to do it, because I don't have to worry about them paying at least that electric cost up front. So this is kind of my strategy, and I plan to be implementing on some of my rigs. I'm looking into what I can do in Hive for my flight sheet and how I can mitigate it. The only issue I'm seeing is though too, that even though when I tell the rigs, hey, stop mining, since the cards are still overclocked, it's still consuming a good amount of electricity. So I don't know a good solution yet to do that in Hive. If you know one, a way you can control that timing and really just mitigate your rig to be almost off without being off so you can at least start mining at profitable times, I'd love to know. So drop a comment down below, as well as I'm going to be looking into ways to even implement this too for NiceHash, even for some of my window rigs. I would love for NiceHash or even some of the other tools like HiveOS to actually implement calendars in it, so we could come in and just say, okay, I want to do this at this time, I want to do this. Hive has some facility, but again, I don't know if it's going to really give me the level I need to really reduce my power at those off-peak times. This is really, really important information, and hopefully it helps you. By you being able to create a chart like this and matrix, you can see the disparity of your profitability versus the different times. Although you may say, okay, well, wow, I'm only mining 1/6 of the day is only at peak. But look, it's 30% of the electricity in my situation. Everyone's is going to be different, so you're going to probably have to put together your own matrix for this. I just thought this was really, really important. And when I seen this especially inside of a pie chart, I was like, wow, this was like, oh no. So I think this is really important information. Hopefully it gives you some inspiration and insight to look into your electricity. That about wraps it up for me for today, and I hope this has helped you and given you some new perspective or insight into ways you can look at your electricity costs, especially if you have a varying rate like I do. And I know a lot of people are just suffering and struggling in these tough times to make ends meet and to run miners, especially if you're in some of those areas we were looking at earlier like Maine and some other areas like California that have these insane electric costs. So hopefully this gives some perspective. Hopefully you can find those time windows. Maybe you can get back online and be in the game and be profitable. I plan to be looking into this further, as well as I'd love to hear your feedback and comments, especially if you're from overseas. I'd love to know, how is electricity calculated there? Is it on a varying rate? Is it on a fixed time schedule? I honestly have no idea, so drop a comment down below. So until next time, stay safe. See you on the next video. Happy mining. Oh yeah, don't forget to subscribe. If you've already subscribed thank you very much.